Hello, I'm Michael, and this is Tarot by the Tree. The present series we're on now is discussing the minor arcana. That's the pip cards. Those are the numbered cards in four suits, going from ace to king, almost exactly like our normal deck of playing cards. Today we're looking at the Three of Cups, which is a deceptively simple card, but it has a message. Earlier on, we talked about the difference between kings and queens. So we mentioned that as kings acquire, queens improve. Like the two polarities of a magnet, one's not less or greater than the other. The two work in conjunction to exert a power, and that's what the king and queen do together. But there's a difference. As we mentioned, men will tend to get her done, and women will tend to improve. And the card is a little bit of a nod to that sentiment. This is not about conquering and acquiring. It is about the improvement of the present situation. We'll describe the card. Three young women are dancing together while raising their cups up to the sky. They're standing on firm, flat ground beneath a blue sky, surrounded by a harvest of fruits and vegetables. Yesterday, we talked about the Two of Cups, and this card is an extension of that idea. In the Two of Cups, we're in the Sephra of Chokmah, and this is the expression of all things. This is the beginning of partnership. In the Tree of Life, it's actually the beginning of duality. Instead of everything contained in one, we now have the two extremes working together. Partnership was yesterday's card. Today's card, you could almost say, is a good result of partnership. In this case, it's three people. This is a card of celebrating, but it's not celebrating in a frivolous way. It's part of the female wisdom that celebration is a part of completion, and it's a part of building something in people that can lead to synergy. And we'll talk a bit more about that soon. This is a card of rightful celebration. So it's not a card of party for the sake of party. This is a card about celebrating an accomplishment. The Sephra of these cards are Bina and Temperance. This is in the third place of the Tree of Life, which refers to all the three cards in the minor arcana. The place where this card lives on the tree is the place of Bina, the Empress, the part of the supernal triad, but also the universal mother. She is creation. She takes all things and she doesn't add anything, but she changes the quality of things. She is what brought life from inert material in a way that we have yet to discover today. The other side of Bina is her sister Temperance. And Temperance changes one thing to another through the different processes that used to be called alchemy. These three people in the position of number three are celebrating the end of an accomplishment, but this is also the birth of something at the same time. This card talks about the higher meaning of celebration. And this is clothed in many words, many similar words in modern language. And it may not always be called celebration. Other ways of looking at this, or maybe I should go back to rightful celebration. One of the ways of looking at this card is being present in the moment. We might say it is a male tendency to finish one job and say, okay, what has to be done next? And perhaps there should be an interim, a moment of resolution. Being present at the moment means experiencing joy and success. That's not self-indulgence. That's a necessary part of the process. One of the things it does is it leads to team building. If you take the group and you just move from job to job, you may get it done. And you can see that would again be a very masculine way of doing it to maximize time and efficiency. But that's not going to work in the long run if the people who work for you aren't, in a sense, pulling more than their weight, which is what we achieve when synergy is in effect. Being present in the moment also creates the positive memories that bond the group and are some of the milestones that let you step ahead in your venture. Another higher meaning of celebration is being grateful, declaring what is important. This is not just a celebration. This is an appreciation of a specific accomplishment. It's being grateful. It's demonstrating success and the joy that it can bring. And those are no small things. Success can exist in its own right, but it can also have that effect of bringing joy to the people who participate. And last, a very common idea now is being mindful. And that is remembering what is important and how you got to where you are. Not all events are equal, and being mindful will lead to a greater appreciation for those fundamental or difficult or important events. And finally, celebration is the release of doubt and worry. It's a decompression period. If you move just from one job to another without the celebratory intervention, there will often be a buildup of tension and anxiety and things like that. Celebration is the release of doubt and worry. And just for that alone, it would be worth it. In a reading, we would tell the person to prioritize their needs. And we're always, especially I find as time goes on, there's a necessity to separate needs from wants. The needs are the primary things to sustain life. And today, many people have so many wants that they now misinterpret as needs. In a reading, we would ask the person to look for success through an avenue of teamwork and trust. Look into your life and see where it is through an interdependence with other people that you can advance. And that's what this card may be referring to. If you are part of a group that accomplishes, that group needs to acknowledge success with joy and reward. Success is not an indulgence. It is a piece of the completion of an accomplishment. And in a reading, we remind people to be grateful. It sorts your mind out, and sometimes the little things that may be nagging at your mindfulness may be put to rest a little bit with the idea of celebration and inwardly feeling grateful. We have mentioned that there's the female essence in this card. It suggests long-term aims. This is not just enjoying an accomplishment and moving on. It's savoring the moment, and this will build impetus and momentum for long-term aims. Celebrate short-term success. If I was reading this in a card, it would be just to be aware that you don't have to wait until the very final product, good or bad, is produced to then consider any kind of celebration. Celebration can be enjoyed as we make steps toward the final end. We just mentioned every step of the plan or journey should be celebrated, not just the end. Celebrate successful steps in your journey, enjoying the process, not just the end result.
And that's clear when, if a project takes a bit of time. So what, you're unhappy until you achieve it.
Exactly. And that's sometimes people who look too far into the future may be self-defeating in that way, where they just get burdened with the tediousness and the little failures that go along the way. The women in the picture have gone through doubt and temporary failure to stay together, work together, and succeed. There have been hurdles they've had to get across. There's teamwork, compassion, forgiveness, and the rule of 60-40. In a relationship, in a team, if you don't feel that you're doing 60% of the work and the others are doing 40, you're probably being dragged along by the others. There is a sense of teamwork in you will do more than your share, and everybody else will feel the same thing. Why don't we turn to some of the questions now about the third card of cups?
Why are the ladies dancing?
They're dancing because they have gone through something that had some degree of risk and required some degree of effort, and they've succeeded. And psychologically, it is very important that they recognize this success as they move forward with the next challenge.
Is this a card about drinking alcohol?
No, and I'm glad that that question was asked, because so often now celebration is synonymous with inebriants. And we have mentioned this before, that the suit of cups is happiness, it's long-term happiness. It is not fleeting ecstasy. This is not a card about inebriation, drugs, or alcohol. And alcohol can be used by anyone who wants to, but we recognize that all of these things are huge problems to some people, and they are certainly not necessary to anything that the card suggests.
Why is all the food on the ground?
It is just symbolic of the harvest time, and that's what they're celebrating right now. This would be autumn, and we can imagine that they're in the garden.
Is this card about the end of their journey?
Doesn't have to be at all. Celebratory occasions should be done in steps along the journey. Because this is the Three of Cups, it is a young card, and it would be reasonable to assume that the three girls are experiencing some of the initial success of their enterprise.
I'm not sure what to make of this card. Is it saying that we should party more often?
And you see some people make that, come to that conclusion. And some people think that forced exuberance, delight, and happiness is a better way to go. And of course, it's a dishonest way to go, because we're not like that all the time. So, no, this is not a card of yes and no. It's not a card of partying more. This is a card of partying to recognize an accomplishment. So yes, it could be a card of partying more. This is a card that we should experience the full completion of our success. And part of that is the gratefulness that comes at the end of each step.
It seems like a traditional thing to bring out the champagne when you're when something has come to fruition, or someone's getting married, or someone's birthday, that kind of thing. But I guess it doesn't mean you go on a drinking spree.
Exactly.
Afterwards.
And it doesn't mean you spike the punch so that everybody, that's why we have these caveats about all inebriants. Um, Use your own judgment. There's no reason to depend on them, and there's good reason to do without them sometimes.
Is this card a sort of prayer?
It can certainly be seen that way, and in anybody with a religious orientation might see stopping to appreciate things along the road as a prayer of thankfulness. And we did talk about being present in the moment, being grateful, and being mindful as all aspects of this card. In the broadest sense, celebration, um, rightful celebration, can be a type of prayer.
What is synergy and how does it apply to the three women in the card?
Synergy is when things come together and the result is greater than the sum of their parts. If you were having a tug of war and the opposing team could pull with 1,000 pounds of force, and each of your members can pull with 300 pounds of force, so you're short, you should be defeated. But synergy is the thing that lets the three of you put so much energy into it that you defeat them. You pulled with a strength that, in a sense, you didn't have. It was the final product that you made was more than the sum of the parts that made it. That's synergy, and we have that in groups. You can't really have individual synergy, and so this is a card of synergy, and celebration allows that synergy. If you have individual people working with no recognition, they're not going to put their full mind into it. With celebration, these people will internalize their efforts and the rewards, and everybody is working to their maximum. And that's where synergy really occurs, where a team is, in a sense, punching above their weight.
Because when you're with other people, it's inspiring. People inspire each other. Alone, you might have a germ of an idea. The second person puts in another point of view.
Yeah, I think inspiration is maybe a really good word, and it must be a part of this card, I think.
And it speaks to the difference between men and women. I know, for instance, in terms of exercising and continuing to exercise, you need that support. I guess it doesn't have to be women and women. I guess men could also partner with women, but I think that women often seek out someone else or two other people to keep them going, and they feel compelled to exercise even when they don't want to because two other people are depending on them.
Absolutely, and I think some of the deeper understanding of human motivation does come from the female aspect, and what you're saying is that many women instinctively recognize what has to be done rather than the purely pragmatic way that some men might approach it.
Any final thoughts?
There is an art to teamwork. Whenever it works, recognize and celebrate. Celebration is essential. And that's it. Thanks for tuning in. That's the Three of Cups. We'll see you soon. Bye for now.